I hope everybody, hello, I hope everybody has had a fantastic Easter, and I hope everyone is ready to get busy with work and that you're all having a great day so far. Those of you sitting at school, you're going home after this. Those of you sitting at home, yay. All right, here's what we're going to do. I sent it to our group chat, which has been super clean, super professional for some time now, and I'm very happy about it. All right, so I sent you the pages we were going to need today. We're going to start on chapter 4. Well, we have already started, but today we're actually going to look at the first page of chapter 4, the first couple of pages. I want you to look at some of the aims for this unit, for this chapter. We have been talking about culture. We've been reflecting, analyzing, and talking about different aspects of culture. We talked about people from other cultures, and we talked about your experiences with people of other cultures. So let's take a look at that very first bit where it says introduction. So we are talking about language, of course, which is the main focus of English in high school, now in Norway. English and foreign languages, at least right now, while we still have foreign language, we are focusing on language, structure, how we communicate. It is very important that you have the structure, that you can form a sentence before you can form a paragraph, before you can write an essay. And you need to know how to write before you can write. You have to learn how to. So we're focusing on these things. I've been giving you a lot of things to write, and some people say, no, I don't want to write. But you have to as part of this subject. And after this year, no more English for you. It's just 1 year now in high school. So what we discussed before, the last time that we had a class on this topic, we discussed the differences between how people communicate. I even talked to you about certain idiomatic expressions that belong to Norwegian culture that don't translate into English or other languages or into other cultures. Now there are 3 questions, and they are, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to show you where on the page this is. Just a second. There are 3 questions right here. You see it? Where it just circled with red. What does the word culture mean to you? We talked about this a little bit the last time, but I want you to write it down in the chat box right now. What does the word culture mean to you? I want to see all the answers. It doesn't matter if somebody else typed before you. I do look at these chats, at the chat logs, to see who was participating. By the way, if you have a funny, cute name that is not your name, please let me know that it's you. Because if your name says Loves Burger King 2005, I have no way of knowing who that is. Lots of people love Burger King. Lots of people have a significant event in their lives that happened in 2005 that you have to tell me who you are. Right. What does the word culture mean to you? I'm just asking you to type really quickly inside into the chat box for me to see. But had this been something for you to do on a test, I would have wanted to see a complete, elaborate answer. The word culture means languages, habits, food, and everything that belongs to a group of people. To me, that is what culture means. So I want you to write, when you write, I want you to write elaborate answers with a subject and a verb at the very least. You have to be very careful with this. Some of you write what you think are sentences, but they're not sentences. The word culture means languages, habits, and customs to me. That's a sentence. But I just want you to type really quickly in the chat box. In this case, I will be more lenient towards what kind of answers you're giving me. I'll be typing in the chat box what I think about your answers. Remember, there's a bit of a delay between my talking right now and what I'm typing. All right, I usually type. You will see me typing before you hear me talk. So that's why I sometimes pause and I wait a little bit. Anyway, the word culture to me means those things: literature, language, food, even habits like how you do the dishes, how you sit at a table, what kind of utensils, silverware, the use of silverware, or eating with your hands or using chopsticks, habits, vaner, habits. The second question, what is the best thing about living in a democracy? What is a democracy? Those of you who are good at social studies will be able to tell me. First of all, let's define what democracy is. What is democracy? What is that? Just type it in the chat. Usually when I say the word democracy, in most circumstances when I mention that word, when I say democracy, I hear a loud shout from people saying freedom. I hear a lot of that. I hear choices. I hear freedom. I hear a lot of people saying it's very positive to live in a democracy. But I want to hear your thoughts. After you define democracy, then tell me what is the best thing about living in a democracy. I'm just giving you time to answer, but I will be typing chat. I do type 100 words a minute, more or less 100 words a minute, approximately, som circa, approximately 100 words a minute. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a bit less than that. But you won't see me look at the keyboard to type because I touch type as well. I'll tell you something about democracy from my point of view. I've lived in countries like the United States and Brazil, both democracies, but it wasn't always like that for Brazil, for example. It wasn't always like that. There was a huge movement in the 80s for certain things to change. And I don't want to go too deep into that because I am not a history or social studies teacher. And this is about language more than anything. But I just want to give you some examples of countries that are democracies. And I want you to define Norway and how you see Norway. Is Norway a democracy? Tell me some things about that. Just type what you know and what you think is great about living in a democracy. The next question that you have, if you had to move to an English-speaking country, which would you choose and why? Always a fun question to ask. You are all very close to England. So I kind of wonder if some of you would have chosen England just because it's close. I know the page is, I can't rotate it as is, but what I want you to look at in the next page, do you see any symbols on that page that could make you think of a particular country? I want you to look at the bus, the double-decker there. I want you to tell me which country, which English-speaking country does that bus make you think of? There's a lot of symbolic value in things that you see in pictures when you find them in textbooks. So that double-decker bus makes you think of which country? Those of you who said England, that's what I was looking for. I'm not saying that that's the only place in the world that has a double-decker bus. That's not what I'm saying. Mama's not saying that. What I'm saying is that usually it's symbolic of England. People think of England when they see that. Now I want you to look at other symbols in this picture. What else do you see? I know that I should rotate that picture, but I really can't, not in this program. I need to get myself a better program. I've been using this digital program called Webcam Max. I've been using it for 12, 13 years maybe. I've been online and having activities online such as broadcasting, teaching online since over a decade. So this is nothing new to me. When the pandemic hit and they said, hey, you have to teach from home, digital teaching, I wasn't like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I was more like, yay, I got to use these skills. So what other picture do you see in there that makes you think of a different country? Some of you are talking about the Statue of Liberty. Some of you are talking about that eagle. Those two particular things in the picture, what country do they symbolize? What country comes to mind, pops to mind? What country pops to mind when you see them? Those of you who said the United States, you are on the money. Where is the Statue of Liberty located? It's in the United States, but which state? The answer I'm looking for is New York. New York. New York. New York is both the state and there is a city named New York as well in that state. The United States, just as Brazil, is divided into states. Each state is divided into cities. That's how Brazil is. That's how the United States is. In Norway, you have regions. Not necessarily states, but you have regions. You can fit Norway into the United States many, many times. As a matter of fact, I think on Google you can find that answer. You go on Google and it will lead you into sources for that piece of information. I don't usually use Google in the sense that most people just go Google something, the first answer is the right. No, the first answer is the most common answer that you may get, but you need to dig a little deeper to find reliable sources of information. Here's my question. How many times can you fit Norway into the USA? The United States is 30 times bigger than Norway, so you can fit Norway 30 times into the United States. So you can't really divide Norway in as many equal pieces. Proportionately, you might be able to, but what I'm trying to say is that the United States is divided into states, and some of those states may be as big as Norway. And you have the state of New York and you have the city of New York. What else do you see in this picture? You see, and I'm not going to say too much about that, but in the very middle of the picture, there is a sentence, "March for our lives." And you see people holding up posters. What does that make you think of? I'm not talking in terms of countries right now. I'm talking about what kind of elements come to mind. You see people with posters in large groups walking together, and you see that huge sentence that says, "March for our lives." What does that make you think of? I'll give you a hint of the answer I'm looking for. It starts with the word P, with the letter P. Oh, the word starts with the letter P. P as in Pollyanna. The word I'm looking for is protest. I want you to look at the colors of the posters. They're black and white posters there, and there's nothing written except for "March for Our Lives." What kind of protests are going on in America and have been going on for the past, I'm going to say, past couple of years? I might be off, but not by much. Those of you talking about Black Lives Matter, you are right. That's one protest that's been going on. There are marches. There are lots of different types of protests. My personal take on this is that you don't need to loot and hurt people and be violent to make your point come across in a protest. That's my personal opinion. You can still walk the walk, put your poster up with what you believe. You can chant. You can do all of that without getting violent. That's my opinion. March for our lives. Which lives are we talking about? This is all for you to reflect. I want you to think about this because I'm going to be asking your opinion. I'm going to be asking you to write something about this. Oh, we don't want to write. Well, you have to in this class. And then after this year, you're done. And guess what? Today is the 6th of April, 2021. You only have barely 2 months. And then you're done with English. Now there are 2 aspects of this picture that I want you to think about, and it's something that you may not be able to see. I'm going to show the picture from a different perspective for you to see. I'm going to hide here in the corner, and I'm going to zoom into this so I can show you what I want to show you. What do you see here? Maybe I zoomed in too much. What do you see here? And what does it tell you? What does it represent to you? Be creative, but don't go outside the box too much because it's still, we are talking about culture, we're talking about March for Our Lives, we're talking about protests, we're talking about certain things. So first, just tell me, type in the chat straight up, what do you think the picture represents? What do you see? Don't think about what it represents first, but tell me what you see. Straight up. I see, just type it in. 2 little kids playing. When you think of little children, when you think of young people, you think of children and young people, you think future, right? You think about maybe a better future, building a future, march for our lives. So the adults are marching, protesting for better lives, for our lives, and they're including the children for a better future for their children so the children won't have to protest. That's one take on it. And you see a car with 2 people in it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Look at the expression on their faces. How do they seem to you? Type it into me. Type it in, please. To me, it's important that you type things in so I know who's participating. Happy. There is a joyful air about them. What kind of car is this? Can anybody afford a car like that? I can't. I can't afford any car, but much less a car like that. So it is a fancy car that people with money would have. You wouldn't see those 2 people protesting for better lives because it looks like they already have a pretty good life. So there are lots of things for you to consider in this picture. What I want you to do is focus on what you just told me. The third question let me show you what I'm talking about. The third question, if you had to move to an English-speaking country, which would you choose and why? I want you to think about that. If you say, I'd like to go to Australia because it's cool, and that's the end of it, that's not telling me much. I want you to tell me more. I want you to tell me things about Australia. What do you know about Australia? What's the capital of Australia? Real quick, I want people, really quickly, I want you to type in the chat box right now, what's the capital of Australia? Everybody that said, everybody that wrote Sydney, that was wrong. But you know what? Most people, when I ask that question, and I've been teaching for 30 years, this is my 31st year teaching. A lot of people have said Sydney too. A lot of people have said that over the years. Canberra is the capital, not Sydney. So what do you know about Australia that makes you want to go over there? So let's start. Number one, weather. The weather in Australia compared to the weather in Norway. If you like cold weather, of course you're going to prefer living in Norway, and you're not going to choose to go to Australia based on weather. But if you like warm weather, that's a great place to go. Then you can think about going surfing, learning how to surf. There are beautiful beaches over there. The fauna, the animals, they have lots of exquisite, very peculiar animals there that you would like to see. And you can talk about their accent. Good day, mate. How's it going? Maybe you prefer that type of pronunciation and cadence of speech. Then you can also think about everything that you find attractive. So I want you to write about that. That's going to be one of your assignments for the day. I want you to write which country, an English-speaking country, if you had to move to an English-speaking country, which would you choose and why? I want you to talk about that. I want you to tell me in detail at least 3 reasons why you would like to move to that country. So from this page, that's all I'm going to ask you to do from this page. Page 164, reflect, letter C. You're going to answer that in detail. I really want to see answers where you let me know how you think and how you're feeling about a certain. Let me see. The next thing that we're going to do today, page 166. All I really need to know, I learned in kindergarten. That's a promising discussion right there. I usually talk to my daughter about what was her favorite time in school. She says, guess what? Kindergarten was the best because we could do whatever we wanted and we had a lot more fun. But did you learn something in kindergarten? I want you to focus on a few things. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe I sent you zoomed in the bits that I wanted you to read, because you have the vocabulary to dish out, advice to compile, kindergarten, graduate school, to flush, all of these words. I want you to study the words. You will be tested. It's not going to be a big test. It doesn't count to most of your grade, but it counts somewhat into your grade to know the vocabulary. So I want you to focus on that as well. Here's what I want to ask you right now. I want to ask you to get your phones. I was going to ask something else, to be honest, but I think I'm going to leave this for when we are in person in class on Friday. Please get your phones. We're going to do a little bit of Quizlet Live. And then I'm going to give you time to do your assignments. I'm just giving you time to get your phones. On Quizlet Live today, we're going to repeat the study set that we looked at a couple of weeks back. The reason why I repeat a lot of stuff is I know that some of you are like, oh, but we already did that. Guess what? Some people do something once and they forget. But if you repeat things, when you repeat, you remember later. You have to memorize certain things. When it comes to language, you have to memorize certain things. I know that people are like, oh, we don't like memorizing, but certain things you have to memorize. Vocabulary, and some people memorize, I'll tell you what, different people memorize things in different ways. My best friend, Roberta, here's how she memorizes things. She reads stuff. She reads it out loud to herself. And then she says it a million times. She looks like a crazy person when she's studying things. She goes, for example, if she's memorizing a bit of text that says, bumblebees are tiny animals. So she goes, bumblebees are tiny animals, bumblebees are tiny animals, bumblebees are tiny animals. And she looks at it again and she keeps repeating it. But she memorizes it really well and she never forgets things. The way I memorize things, I say them out loud, I write them down a billion times, and then when I get bored, I keep going. I keep writing. Even though I'm getting sick of it, I keep writing stuff down. And writing by hand helps me memorize things. Different people memorize in different ways, and you have to memorize certain things. Otherwise, you won't learn. This is a learning study strategy. It's a study strategy. As soon as you see the code, please go in. Remember, there's a bit of a delay, so you may see things after the game has already started. The game may have, who knows, the game may have already started as I'm speaking right now. After this, I'm going to give you your assignments, and I'll give you time to do your assignments. I won't be holding a video conference with you today. It's your first day back after Easter. I'm pretty sure that's probably not what you want to do. You probably don't even want to be here right now. So your assignments for the day will be talking about an English-speaking country where you would like to go and why, and list 3 reasons why you would like to do that. in detail, and you're going to work on this study set. I want to look at the match section to see if you are playing. Do not cheat on the results, because some people are hacking into the system or stopping the clock or something. Don't do that. And I'm going to send you into the group chat what you need to do. All right, I'll see you guys on Friday. But if you need anything, message, call, you have full access to me. You know what your assignments are. Page 164, letter C. If you had to live in an English-speaking country, which country would that be and why? Give me at least 3 reasons and explain in detail why you would like to live in that country. Other than that, I want you to do the study set. The study set, I want you to go where it says High School English Job Vacancies. I want you to work on match, write, as well as test. When you take that test, make sure that you do at least 75%. Score at least 75%. Do the whole thing, but make sure that you take the test several times until you reach 75%. The link will be available on our group chat.